Hey guys, it's Ben from 80s Horror Central, and we are jumping right into Q&A video number 2. Thanks everybody who asked questions for this. These are usually pretty fun to make. First up, what is your favorite horror movie from the 2000s? So, although the channel is focused mainly on 1980s horror, I do watch horror from all decades, all the way back to the 1950s, and I watch all the new stuff that comes out today. Movies that I enjoy post 1999 are the Collector movies, The Conjuring, Feast. As far as remakes go, I enjoyed the Friday the 13th remake, and I do like the Rob Zombie Halloween remake. The Hills Have Eyes was another good one. A movie that a lot of people don't like that I actually enjoy is House of the Dead. A movie that I enjoy that I don't think a lot of people have seen is a movie called Monster Man. It's a pretty good one. As for my favorite, I usually go back and forth between House of a Thousand Corpses and Sinister. Those are two movies that I kind of consider like modern classics, and I never get tired of rewatching those. What was your least favorite movie that you have reviewed? So I have reviewed quite a few, I guess, bad movies for my channel, but I don't necessarily dislike bad movies, especially if they're enjoyable. What I find to be the ultimate sign of a bad movie is how boring it is. And a couple movies that I found just completely boring that I did not enjoy reviewing very much was probably Boarding House, Appointment with Fear, Dial Help. Those are just a couple off the top of my head that I found to be quite boring to watch and not very fun to edit or review. What is your favorite or least favorite horror movie subgenre and a few films from that genre? I don't really have a favorite subgenre. I like all horror for the most part. I enjoy monster movies. I like body horror. I always find supernatural slashers to be really fun. For body horror, I'd recommend checking out Society, and for like supernatural slashers, I always found the movie The Incubus to be pretty underrated. Least favorite is probably sci-fi horror. I never really got into sci-fi horror or like sci-fi B movies. I don't really review a lot of it on the channel, which is ironic despite me loving films like The Thing and Aliens. What is your favorite horror film of all time? I'd probably have to say John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. I know it's kind of a cliched answer now because it seems like every horror movie fan loves that movie, but it's a classic, and I always recommend it to people who are trying to dip their toes into 80s horror, and I never get tired of rewatching it, so I put The Thing up there as my favorite. Do you have a top 10 list? I do if we're talking 80s horror, but it's always changing. Like my list today is different than it was, 10 years ago, but it's usually filled with movies like Fright Night, Return of the Living Dead, The Blob, The Thing, obviously, Reanimator, Nightmare on Elm Street, Pet Cemetery, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. I mean, there's so many good movies, horror movies from the 80s that it's hard to always like put a set, top 10. Do you like other film genres? I do. I watch movies of all genres. I love action movies, B action movies from the 80s and 90s. I like comedies, dramas. I watch them all. So, do you watch any modern horror films? Yes, I do. I watch anything that comes out that looks interesting. I enjoyed Hereditary. Haunt was pretty good. Ma was pretty good. I thought Ready or Not was very entertaining. Doctor Sleep was a good sequel. So yeah, I watch anything that comes out that looks interesting. Or why do I drink so much? I don't know, but if you have some vodka, I'll take a drink with you. Top five sleazy movies. That's tough. There was a lot of sleazy movies that came out in the 80s and early 90s. Nightmare Sisters, Roots of Evil, Humanoids from the Deep, Not of This Earth from 1988, Strip to Kill 2. There's a good handful of sleazy flicks, but those come to my, top of mind when I think of TNA and sleaze. How big is your horror movie collection, and what is the rarest film you own on DVD or VHS? Same to say I have a very large horror collection, ranging from VHS to Blu-ray. A couple years ago, I uploaded a video where I showed off my horror collection, and it has only, grown since then. As for the rarest film that I own, I actually sold a lot of my rare VHS tapes that I had a few years back, so my rare collection isn't as, vast as it used to be. Also, what's your favorite TNA horror movie? That's tough. I like Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Nightmare Sisters is a classic. Roots of Evil, I know I mentioned that, but that's a fairly underrated early 90s sexploitation thriller that I enjoy. Strip to Kill is another classic. Murder Weapon is pretty underrated when it comes to sexploitation, slashers. What inspired you to become a horror movie reviewer on YouTube? Uh, Originally it was just wanting to do something creative. So I was like, you know what, I kind of want to take what I'm doing on my website and then turn it into, video format. And it would be kind of fun just to get other, maybe, fans of obscure, rare horror movies into checking out some of these rare, obscure horror movies. Mainly just to share knowledge of 80s horror, and also just do something creative was the main reason why I started editing, reviews. Likes and dislikes in the horror genre. Things I like in the horror genre are originality, practical effects, gore, nudity. Things I dislike in the horror genre, the repetitive nature of the slasher film, and CGI. Even modern day CGI just doesn't look the same, and it kind of sucks. Least favorite or most favorite movies. I've already discussed some of my favorite movies, so I'll throw a couple other ones out there. Pumpkinhead, the Evil Dead series, Phantasm. I think Exorcist 3 is underrated. Creepshow 2, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, The Hitcher, Demon Warp is great. Some of my least favorite movies are probably Halloween H2O, Jason Goes to Hell. I thought It Follows was overrated. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake sucked balls. What's your go-to movie that you can watch over and over again? If we're talking horror, I've already said it's probably The Thing. If we're not talking horror, I'm going to go with Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I've loved that movie since I was a kid, and I can just watch that over and over. What holidays can they make into a horror movie that isn't already a horror movie? I think they've done just about everything, so I don't know. I do think we need more Christmas horror. I feel like you can never have too much, Christmas horror movies, so make more of those would be my recommendation.